While looking for gold in the mountains southwest of Phandalin, a couple of Dwarven prospectors decided to explore a nearby canyon and found evidence of an ancient Dwarven settlement buried by an avalanche. Today we'll have a look at the Dwarven Excavation quest. I'll rant about some aspects that I didn't like and give you advice on how to make it better. You're watching Lutes and Dice, and I'm your bard, Volkard. So I'm going to go really basic here, so forgive me if it's obvious to you, but I'm assuming that very new DMs watch this. I'm once again puzzled by the choices of the designers to flesh out the location, given that this is a product for players with no experience. Before any of the action starts, there are two areas that combined together take half of the entire map. Then there's a flavor text box in the arrival section of the chapter which kind of places the group in the first area before the broken gate. There's no gameplay in both areas whatsoever, there's nothing to do. The only thing that can be affected is that the dwarves can be either alert or surprised when they see the newcomers. And even that doesn't matter at all. So what can happen is some players might just say, we walk forth till we see some action. But then there are players who are not sure what this game can possibly offer to them. They've just created their characters, they don't want to lose them, they're suspicious of everything. Suddenly you've spent 20 minutes checking every ruined building, rolling for perception, finding nothing, you've just wasted your time. My point is, always question yourself, what is the purpose? How does this serve the story, or character development, or at least fun? New DMs are likely to pick up some published adventures to see how things can go before creating their own stuff, and that's when a case like this can occur, so keep it in mind. The best way to look at this, to look at all the little adventures in this book, is they are frameworks. You have a populated location with a little background, go ahead and create a story using provided tools. The way I like to kickstart my creative process for a new quest is imagine that this is the beginning of a new episode in a series or a scene in a book. Just close your eyes and try to picture it. The camera will most likely show the canyon and the ruined village for like 2 seconds before jumping right into the middle of the conversation between the protagonist and the dwarves. Try to imagine a few lines of the dialogue, feel the flow of the scene. This can set up the mood for the next hour of gameplay. I've decided to dig a little deeper as I do, and I've stumbled upon 58th issue of a Dragon magazine where I found some lore about this Abba Thor God. So Abba Thor is a Dwarven god who wasn't always greedy, he just appreciated treasure but then got mad because Dumathoin got promoted by Moradin to be a protector of mountain dwarves and not him. So he decided to establish evil greed as the driving force in dwarves' lives. But what I got so thrilled about are his servants, something that I would actually include in this dungeon. Abba Thor's servants consist primarily of rappers, which is an odd name, but this was written in 1982. Next are some rules for the AD&D 1st edition, which can be used purely as an inspiration. A rapper is the undead form of an evil dwarven thief or assassin who died in an attempt to steal something. These beings typically inhabit old mines and caverns where they attempt to lure victims into their doom. Rappers appear to be pale-skinned dwarves with semi-translucent skin, dressed in rags and carrying weapons or mining tools. They can go invisible twice a day for 6 turns, but will become visible when physically attacking. Rappers will hide in small corners of underground tunnels and make a constant rhythmic tapping sound with their tools or weapons against the tunnel wall. After listening to this tapping sound for a while, a humanoid creature must make a saving throw or else develop a form of insanity called monomania. This basically means that a person is fixed on a single idea, expecting the same devotion from comrades, potentially resulting in hostility and violence. Obviously, you can come up with your own forms of madness. It can be short-term or less complex. For that, you can consult Chapter 8 in Dungeon Master's Guide. In the case of this adventure, you could place an undead dwarf in Area E6, which is otherwise completely empty and carries no purpose. Rappers can keep up their tapping for an infinitely long duration. If they're located and attacked, rappers will attack in a crazed manner and will howl and shriek loudly, possibly attracting additional monsters. Okra Jellies, maybe. These undead monsters usually guard their victims' remains. Monomania can be easily incorporated into the hook for exploring the temple. Dazzlin or Norbus could have fallen victims to this magic. You can modify a scene where the dwarves ask the players to get rid of the monsters by having one of them say, come here, listen. You hear? There's something down there. Let the players make perception rolls, and the higher their roll, the better their chances to go nuts. You can pick one PC and give him a note with the description of the madness effect, and have them roleplay it over the course of the adventure. Just be sure to provide the opportunity to heal it afterwards. You don't want to slow down the entire campaign because of it. A Dabra might be able to handle this with some herbs and a couple of days of treatment, or just a potion of restoration. It all can be described in a couple of sentences between the adventures. Okra Jelly. Not much to say about this monster other than it's pretty unique, and I love it. 5th edition monster design really lacks some personality in my opinion, and Okra Jelly is one of a few monsters that actually bring something memorable to an encounter by themselves. The HP amount might scare you for a first level fight, but it has a speed of 10 feet per round. Once your players figure that out, that's it, it's dead, so keep that in mind. Also, don't forget that it can still use dash action to double its speed. With that in mind, it's very important how you introduce this guy. It has a very curious ability called Amorphous, meaning it can move through a space as narrow as 1 inch. So why not place it underneath a cracked floor tile and let it ooze through and grab upon someone's leg as soon as they step there. Make a grapple attack against that person, and when they try to slash its pseudopod, they cut it off and it continues to exist as a separate entity, bothering a guy who tries to help the first person to break free. And don't forget that not only does it split upon being slashed or exposed to lightning, it is completely immune to those types of damage. Secret doors can easily be a topic for an entire video, so I'll try to capture the basics here. Now, there's a secret door in Area 4 that has already been discovered by the dwarves, which by design should nudge the players towards the conclusion that there are more, especially taking into account the symmetry of the structure. To find a secret door, one has to make a perception roll, but what if they keep failing? At the end of the day, the players might say we stay here for hours or days checking every inch of the building until we find something. That doesn't sound very fun, at least in this situation. So to prevent that, first of all, describe the room, ask a player with proficiency in perception where they would like to look, allow somebody to make help action, and if they fail, narrow down their area of interest, saying that if there is a door, it's definitely not there and there. Then ask that player what method he will use this time, and the key to this situation is to not have a predetermined understanding of how the door works exactly. Listen to your player, and if he describes something cool, go for it. They light a candle and try to locate an air current from a crack in the wall. Cool. Give them a +5 bonus to the roll if you really like their method, or maybe they came up with something so cool that it wouldn't even require a roll. Don't hesitate to reward creativity this way if your players deserve it. This is another part of the adventure that puzzles me. The party can spend several hours clearing the entrance to the Hall of Greed, only to access a deadly trap with no option to disarm it or get any sort of reward. I get it, some parts of a fantasy world are really dangerous and don't necessarily carry any profit, but there is a time and place for such encounters. Let's say an entire adventure is about Abba Thor, the Dwarven God of Greed, and this encounter develops the personality of this evil deity, granting some knowledge and insight for future encounters. Or it's a room in Undermountain built by a mad mage. Maybe it's a part of a grander puzzle, but potentially killing off a party of level 1 characters for the sake of what exactly? Once again, if you can incorporate this into the story and make it meaningful, go for it. Maybe even included some foreshadowing that it's better not to go deeper into the temple. Maybe Dazlin's and Norbus's madness that we've talked about causes them to be obsessed with this room, thus planting suspicions into the PC's minds. Having a religious character able to understand that Abba Thor desires some blood and it might be a trap. Alternatively, you can use religion-proficient character to try and understand the purpose of the statue. Maybe a sacrifice has to be made during the eclipse before touching the treasure. Maybe a necklace found earlier can be somehow involved in this puzzle. Hang it around the statue's neck to disarm the trap, perhaps. Once again, it's a nice situation to let your players roleplay and offer ideas, and once you like one, act like this was the case all along. And that's it for today's quest. Let me know in the comments how did it go for your party. Share your D&D stories, ask questions, and I'll definitely answer them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.